Gloucester is very coastal. It has 62 miles of coastline, and the settlement is concentrated around the edges of the island, so that almost everybody in Gloucester lives within a mile, maybe two at most, from the water, from the shore. The harbor represented to the city is kind of the image of the city. Gloucester is a fishing city, and the idea of the working waterfront is kind of core to the identity of the community, even while jobs on the working waterfront were no longer very available. And we started with this polarized community. Like I said, if you were for loosening the regulations on the waterfront, you were labeled anti-working waterfront, selling off. If you wanted to preserve the working waterfront, you were labeled unrealistic and also, putting people's properties on hold. And it was abundantly clear that piers and wharves were deteriorating and buildings were vacant. So our first step was to identify the values of the community that would drive development on the waterfront. We spent several years just developing relationships and understandings, and where it all came into the tool that really is what we're about today was when we had to renew our harbor plan and designated port area plan. So we wrote the scope for it as we said we want the economic data. We want the data for who we are, how our labor force, what the skill sets of our labor force, how they align with potential compatible industries. We want to understand what are the range of industries out there, where are they, how are they funded, and how do we get, and then finally we want to know how do we get to them, which ones are compatible with us, and do we have any obstacles to doing that, which of course we do. So when we started to look at the data, what was astonishing to us was when EDA first came to Gloucester, for example, they looked at the NACE codes and they said, do we really only have 140 people working in the fishery, and are we really here for 140 people? And we're like, no, that's not true, but I didn't know what to tell them. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot more. But we did some of our own data gathering. In the end, we found 2,900 of our 10,000 jobs in the city were in the maritime economy. 2,900. That's for going from 140 fishermen to, oh, guess what? We're hugely maritime oriented. So that, in and of itself, is it's really important to know the data that's underlying what you're trying to work with, and it kind of gave weight to people said the fishery's not dead, while also explaining that a lot of the maritime jobs weren't actually actively using the water. So how do we start linking that up? But at least in our community, there's a lot of polarization around the idea that it is very difficult to develop a working waterfront. They're not obvious uses. And I think the community values that drive waterfront development are really important to establish first. Gloucester has a beautiful downtown. It has coffee shops, it has cool restaurants, it has live music all the time. The indigenous culture of Gloucester is really fun. And to have a way for other people who are interested in maritime issues to come in seemed to me essential. But you have to get people down to your waterfront to love it and protect it.